Good day. My name is Brian Staudenauer. I'm the lead child and youth program coordinator of the Vermont National Guard contractor. I'm here to talk to you all today about military connected youth and deployment and let you know that military youth can thrive, not just survive, their loved ones' deployment. What are our objectives for today? Objective number 1, increase awareness of the top 11 issues for military connected youth and deployment. Number 2, increase knowledge of available resources. Number 3, identify programs for supporting military connected youth and their families during times of deployment and beyond. Just so you have a little understanding of the Vermont Army National Guard Child and Youth Program, our mission is to positively impact soldier and family readiness, resilience, and retention by providing secure, timely, flexible, and high-quality youth development opportunities and resources which promote the overall well-being of Vermont National Guard children and youth. I want to take a moment and have you all think about the network of support that your military child has and is going to need even more so during these times of deployment and separation. And I need you to think of a team approach, right? Because their network of support is going to branch well beyond the immediate family unit. It's going to include the military community. It's going to include families and friends beyond your immediate family, right? It's going to include educators, counselors, their school, their education system, their religious community, any sports community that they're involved in, music community, dance community, art community. We really need to make sure that all the significant members of that child's community knows that they are facing times of deployment, that a loved one is being removed from their home for a significant amount of time. So make sure that they know. Who are the military connected youth? They're definitely our sons and daughters, but they could also be nieces and nephews. They could also be cousins, siblings, students, neighbors, friends, anybody that has a strong, the stronger the relationship with that military service member that's being deployed, the more military connected they are, and the greater that this is going to have an impact on their lives during this time of deployment. I just want you to listen to me. I need you to pay attention to me and know what I'm feeling. These are hidden messages the children are sending us all the time. These hidden messages may increase or develop differently during times of deployment and times of extended separation. These hidden messages, they're rarely spoken, but they definitely underlie nearly all communication that we're having with individuals. And kids are individuals. They're no different, right? Instead, these messages that they send us, they're often hidden by emotions or actions, or they say nothing at all. So it's our job as parents, as being involved in these kids' lives, we need to do some investigating. We need to do some interpretation of what their behaviors and their actions are telling us. What is that hidden message? So we're going to hopefully discuss and learn some of the ways that we can recognize and interpret those subtle messages being conveyed during times of deployment, right? And the first thing is to not assume you know how they are feeling or what they're reacting to. That's the first thing you need to do, is slow down and take a breath and really listen and observe their actions, right? And their reactions to things. And then during that time, you need to remember that every single person is different. And that includes kids, right? Every child's reaction is different and vary widely. We're going to get into some of the most common concerns that arise during deployment. Here we go. What are those top 11 issues? Number 1, depression. Number 2, parent safety, both the deployed parent and the parent back on the home front. 3, self-esteem. 4, effects of people's opinions and media's opinions. 5, routines, daily routines, weekly routines. 6, feeling alone. 7, missing events. 8, guilt. 9, responsibilities. 10, finances. And number 11, that reunion and reintegration. Starting at the top of that list of 11, depression. As a parent or caregiver, don't assume it is just a phase and overlook some of the signs and symptoms that your kiddo is giving you. You can see them here below. Well, what are some of the things that you can do to maybe fend off some of these 11 concerns, increased concerns during times of deployment and extended separations? Number one, definitely update the school counselor and administration about the deployment and stress with them that need for confidentiality, right? It's important to your safety, to your family's safety, and to your service member safety that this is kept confidential. Doesn't need to be broadcast to the whole school. The key members of the school community need to have this information so that they can assist your kiddo, okay? If there are other military families in the school, encourage the school to seek out resources for an in-service training about the impact of deployment on their military youth. And they can come to me for that, and you'll see my contact information at the bottom of this. But definitely get a hold of me. Talk and listen as a family about your child's desires, needs, during, before, after the deployment. To include but not limited to, what are their responsibilities and roles around the house? What is the school day going to look like? How is it going to be structured? Is it going to be different? They have somebody taking them or picking them up that's not the usual person. Things of that nature. Make sure that they're in the know on this. What are after school and extracurricular activities going to look like? Again, are they going to be able to participate in them? Who's going to be transporting them to and from those locations? So be thinking about those. Definitely be talking about your feelings as a family. Make sure that everybody has ample room to discuss and to talk about their own personal feelings. Again, don't assume as a parent, as an adult, that you know what they're feeling. Don't assume that. It's always really good during these extra times of stress to increase the amount of positive encouragement and know that everyone is going to benefit from this. You know, if you put some golden coins in my bucket, my happy bucket, I'm going to be more inclined to put some golden coins in your happy bucket. And then we can fill everybody's happy bucket with golden coins. Wouldn't we all like that? Wouldn't we all feel a little better about ourselves and about the situation if we had our happy bucket full of gold coins? You know, increase our efforts to ensure that all of us are getting enough sleep, we're eating properly, and that we're being active, physically active, we're exercising, you know. I encourage you all to take the opportunity to get outside and spend some time in nature. It has remarkable healing qualities and capabilities for us. Parent safety. Number 2, top concern. They worry about this all the time. They know that their significant service member is being deployed and is likely going into harm's way, physical harm's way and mental harm's way, as well as they're just going to be separated from them for a significant amount of time. So what can we do to help support them through this time? Limit access to TV and other news medias as this fuels their uneasiness. If you are going to allow them access to it, make certain that you are along with them to access that information, to absorb that information so that you can answer any questions they're having and deal with any concerns that may be springing up. And talk about how they're feeling about that news story and how that makes them react, right? Be approachable so that your kiddos can feel free to talk to you about their concerns. Know that you're open. It's an open dialogue. You're listening just as much as you're speaking, if not more. We should all be listening more and speaking less. And if you find some of these concerns are more than you can handle, that's okay. You aren't the end all be all. There is help out there. There are professionals out there that you can get to help you. So please seek those professionals out. Encourage journal writing, right? Picture drawing and other artistic expressions. This is a way to assist them in coping with that stress. Number 1, be approachable so that kids can feel free to talk about their concerns with you. Next, decrease self-esteem and the inability to deal with unfamiliar emotions. They are likely having emotions jump up for the first time ever, and they don't know what those emotions are for and how to respond to those and what to do with that information that their body is feeding them. And so make sure that you are, as a family, talking about the awareness of emotions and try to understand what they're feeling and that you as the parent or caregiver may be feeling that way too. And that it's okay to identify that to them. That's going to increase your bond that's going to increase your relationship bond. Is there another way for your child to feel better about themselves? What can they do? What can they get out and do that's going to help them feel better about themselves? Encourage activities in which they excel and at which they succeed, and maybe increase those opportunities to participate in that activity during this time. Consider community service projects. In addition to meeting school requirements, it's going to help kids with their interpersonal skills as well as making a positive difference in someone else's life. That's a little challenging during these times of COVID and this global pandemic. However, there are ways to do that in your local community, staying inside your circle, at the school level, as well as there are definitely digital or virtual ways to volunteer also. So make sure you're seeking those out. It's certainly going to increase the self-esteem. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you like it or not, other people's opinions have an impact on us. They affect us. And they have a greater impact and greater effect on our youth, because those youth are still forming their own thoughts and still forming their own opinions about things, right? And keep in mind that the closer that relationship to the child that the adult has that's sharing that information, that opinion, the greater the impact that is going to have on them. So what are some things that we can do to help to maybe offset the opinions of other people's? So number one, we can limit media contact as much as possible. And when the news is on, the radio, on the television, listen to it, watch it together so that you can talk about what's being said. Make sure other adults who have influence over your child's life are aware of how their opinions may affect your child. Take immediate action if these adults behave inappropriately. Immediate action. Approach them, pull them aside, approach them, let them know what effect their words are having on your child. Understand the impact that damaging words have on your child and talk with him or her about insensitive remarks so that your child can put the remarks into perspective. Remind your child that the words they speak have an impact on others too, and encourage them to think before they say something. Remember, words, once they're said, they cannot be taken back. Likely the removal of that significant person in their lives has meant a disruption in their routine. So what can we do? We can try to maintain that daily consistency, especially for young children, but even for teens, by having routine and structure. And if this means restructuring and re-routining, go ahead and do that as a community and as a family, and allow them to have input in it, because they're going to buy into it a lot more if you give them some input into that. Explain to them that this is their new normal. We've been having a lot of those new normals, but this is just another one. Acknowledge the implication of deployment while keeping routines the same as much as possible so that kids don't feel activities are on hold until that deployed parent returns. Work with friends, family, and neighbors, and other members of your military community to arrange transportation, to schedule events, and to school activities so that they don't have to miss these things. During these times of extended separation, they reported increased feeling of loneliness, feeling alone. This can be the result of the disruption of routines, but it definitely can go deeper than that. A child can feel as if no one around cares. They may have lost for 30 or more days the person he or she used to do things with the most. The child wonders will things return to the way they were when that parent returns, or will they be changed forever? So there's an increased feeling of loneliness. So during the absence, during this separation, make sure and designate special individual time for each child with that parent or guardian who is back on the home front. Temporarily find a quote-unquote replacement activity that you can do together to bridge the gap until that deployed service member returns. And just be available to engage them where they want to be engaged, that youth wants to be engaged. Encourage participation in deployment support groups at school, in FRG Kids group, or help your child identify a possible battle buddy that they can go to talk. And provide opportunities for your children to help others. Again, going back to that community service piece. This puts your child around other people and helps them take the focus off of themselves and put it on somebody else. There's no way around it, but that deploying service member is going to miss being in person for important family and youth events that are going to come up during that deployment. So making sure before that deployment happens that you have a family meeting and that you discuss this openly, that the service member acknowledges and is aware that they're going to miss events, and more importantly, impresses upon the family that their expectation is that the family moves on and continues on participating fully in their life endeavors, participating fully in events that are going to come up, participating fully in family functions that are going to come up in their absence, and that start creating a plan as a family as to how you can involve that deployed service member to the best of your ability. Are you able to FaceTime in or to Teams in during that particular event, right? Are you able to video record it with those electronic rectangular devices that we almost all have in our pockets, or at least take pictures of it? Can the kiddo have a journal, an important events journal that they want to share, that they can write down so that whenever they have the opportunity to share these with that deployed service member, they can involve them in that event or activity post the event or activity. Have them create a memory box or a memory bag. Get them a Ziploc bag, give them some slips of paper. They can write down their memories as they come through them. Right? As they come through them, they can write them down, and then they can put them into that Ziploc bag so that whenever they do have the chance to chat with that deployed service member, they can pull that Ziploc bag out and pull it out and be like, oh yeah, remember last week whenever we tipped over that log in the yard and we found those really gross worms in there? Might not be important to you as an adult, but to that 7-year-old, they might be the most important thing that happened to them during that week. So make sure that gets out there. You can request a flat daddy or a flat mommy or a hug-a-doll so that you can take those things to events with you and that service member can be there with you at the event. Involve other family and friends and have a replacement for that significant deploying service member in place during events, or just to have extra support there because that deployed service member isn't able to be there. That'll go miles for your child. Guilt is a pretty grown-up emotion, and it will get in the way of your child just being a child. It's the parent or caregiver's job to relieve that guilt and reassure them that it's okay to go out and have fun. Assure them that it's okay to feel some guilt, but it shouldn't get in the way of them living life. If age appropriate, have an open and frank discussion with the deployed service member still at home about guilt and about you pressing on with your lives on the home front while the deployed service member is pressing on with their life in the mission. Kids and even sometimes spouses, they're going to feel guilty if they're having a good time, enjoying life, or even just laughing and going out to dinner without their deployed loved one. Creative expression will provide an opportunity to share both the good and the bad feelings of having family outings without that deployed parent. Constant reassurance is important during this time. Children need to know that their deployed parent wouldn't want them to just be hanging around the house and not having fun. That's going to make that deployed parent feel guilty. So make sure the whole family has a conversation beforehand to discuss the guilt and to discuss the continuation of life during times of deployment. It's very common during these times of extended separation that the child is going to want to take on more roles and responsibilities in the house. And it's also really typical for the parent that's at home, the guardian that's left at home, to add additional roles and responsibilities onto the kiddo during this time. Now, I would say for the latter, please be cautious in how you do that, because that could in some ways convey to the child that they're a replacement for the deployed service member, when we know that that's not your intent, but sometimes their little brains can kind of think that, and that can add or exacerbate some of these other issues, like the parent safety issue, right? Or the feeling alone issue, or that self-esteem issue. So just be cautious about that piece, please. So what can you do to do this? So What can you do to fend this off? You can make a plan as a family prior to deployment to allow for input from everyone. Allow everybody to be part of it. Open that discussion. It's going to help address feelings and reassure family members about expectations during deployment. Be specific in your plan as far as job assignments and responsibilities go. If every child knows initially what's expected of him or her, the child can plan their routines around their responsibilities. And that also gives them some empowerment there, right? You're putting them in charge, it's allowing them to be in charge of their own plan. The parent that's on the home front, make sure that you plan for a support system as to not depend on your kids for that support. Avoid reinforcing roles such as the little mother or the man of the house. That's too much for a child to bear. Instead, say something like, while mom or dad is gone, you can be in charge of bringing in the mail and taking out the trash each day. No doubt that you're going to face some financial adjustments during this time of deployment, extended separation. It helps to make a budget to be sure that expenses are getting paid. Equally important is to budget an amount for play that must be spent on fun activities with your family. This makes them sure that they don't feel like they're giving up everything because that service member is deployed. Prepare your financial plan with your children. Talk to them. If they're involved in the planning, they are more likely to support what you come up with. Now, I'm not saying to involve them in the initial discussions, but you and the adults in the house have a financial conversation and then present that conversation or the gist of that conversation to the kiddos in your house, allowing them to have some input in the say also. Are you still having trouble? There are a lot of financial support resources for military families with a deployed parent. Visit the Vermont National Guard Family Programs Office or the websites listed on the resource slides. Reunion and reintegration. When the parent returns, there are a lot of new feelings that go along with that adjustment. There is a fear that the parent will be different, that he or she won't fit back in. Pre-planning and discussions go a long way to helping ease this transition. And this starts before your deployment. Make sure you're having a conversation beforehand about what it's going to look like upon that return so that everybody can be as close to on the same page as possible. Here are some things that you can think about, though, to have during that conversation. Allow time and space for everyone to readjust. Go slow and take it easy with one another, and don't assume the worst of any interaction. Expect that things will get better as everyone becomes more comfortable with each other. Encourage simple, shared activities that don't require a lot from anyone and allow each to have a good time, such as going to the park, watching fun TV shows or movies together, doing puzzles, reading, coloring. It's things you can do shoulder to shoulder, side by side, that everybody can participate in easily, right? And there's no judgment being made. Listen and share your feelings gently with one another. We are all more resilient when we feel listened to. If it's a choice between being right or kind, choose to be kind during this period of readjustment and homecoming. And that goes for everybody. Be patient with one another. It's going to take some time. Here are a few parting thoughts, advice, and solutions. Military children, they're straightforward, they're strong, resilient. How do they do it? In their words, they keep going forward and stay positive. Here are some success tips from other military youth. Best friends and their families can serve as great additional support. There are other things going on in a child's life besides a parent's deployment. They want to talk about other things too. A conversation with the deploying parent prior to their departure is great reassurance that the deployed parent really understands how the child is feeling. Listen to them. Please listen to them. Children appreciate the extra time spent with the parent at home, even if they don't admit it. Make sure they're getting individual time, like we mentioned earlier. Make sure there's time for them to be with that other caregiver left at home. Individual time. Provide opportunities for children to talk to others who have experienced deployment, which is super valuable to them. Now we're going to move into some of the available resources, both at the local level and the national level. The most local you can get is through the Vermont National Guard Child and Youth Program. We've created a binder full of resources specifically for youth and families with youth of deploying Vermont National Guard service members. You can request a copy of this. We're happy to send it to you digitally. That'll happen almost in really soon, within 24, 48 hour time period. We can also get you an actual physical copy of it, but you need to request both of those, please. You can request the digital copy by following the SurveyMonkey link. It's a hyperlink in the document that you're looking at. As well as you can also zap that QR code at the bottom of the page. It's going to take you to a SurveyMonkey. Fill out that request, and you'll get on the list to receive one of those. If you do want one of those physically printed and sent to you in the U.S. Postal Service, then definitely shoot me an email. My email's located on the last slide of this briefing. Great. So hit up that top deployment resources for military youth in the state of Vermont. Beyond the youth deployment resource binder that I have, I'd love the opportunity to provide in-services for your local school districts, to discuss with them what it's like to be a military child going through time of deployment. I can do those both in person and virtually for sure. I can also just supply them with with resources that they can have available for them to assist them during this time. Please definitely shoot me an email if you have any of these requests, okay? You can also send a request through the Vermont National Guard Child and Youth website. You can also find us out on Facebook land too at VTNGCYP. I know you've gotten, or you will receive, other briefings from the other programs that fall under the Vermont National Guard Family Programs team. I just want to highlight a couple of those because I mentioned them. I mentioned that you might need these services during my briefing here, and those are the behavioral health services. Free of charge, both at the local level through Vermont Veterans Outreach Behavioral Health Services Program, as well as at the national level through the Military OneSource app or their phone number. And the other one that I mentioned is the financial services here at the local level under the Vermont National Guard Family Programs. I just wanted to highlight those and make sure that you all know that those aren't just for adults. Those are also free services for military youth as well. Okay. Another great program that we have in the state of Vermont is Military Kids Vermont, which is a concerned group of individuals and community support mechanisms. And we sit around a table and we really work hard to come up with youth programming and family programming for Vermont National Guard families. So let's move into some of those nationally available resources. You got the AR, the Army National Guard Child and Youth Services website. As well as we got a phone app out there that you can download for both Apple and for Android. Located in there are lots of resources for you as a parent in coping with deployment and helping your youth cope with deployment. There are deployment activities in there specifically designed for the youth to participate in, both at an individual solo style as well as for a family unit. You're also going to find links to all of the other resources that I'm going to talk to you about in the next few minutes. On that through that web app and through that website. One of the big ones that I want to point out is you're getting ready to start a deployment. Your deployed service member is moving to Title 10 or 32, active duty status. So you all will become eligible for the child care fee assistance through the Military Fee Assistance Program, specifically the Army Fee Assistance Program. So make sure you're checking out the links and go get those subsidies to help you with child care. Military Kids Connect. It's this great online location, safe space for military youth to go to be able to chat to one another. It follows it's compliant with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and it's a really great resource that's going to directly connect those military youth with other military youth, which is super important during this time. You can also find on there resources for parents, caregivers, and teachers. What we got for resources for you? Our Military Kids. It's going to be an extracurricular fee assistance program for ages 5 through 12th grade. Once you become on that deployed status, you're going to be eligible to receive support, financial assistance support for extracurricular activities. So karate, gymnastics, ballet, piano, art lessons, right? Camp. Going to be some financial assistance for you through that program. The Army Services and YMCA Military Outreach Initiative. Check out that link right there. A lot of YMCAs in certain areas of the U.S. Allow for military service members to come in and apply for memberships at a significantly discounted rate. So check out that the Armed Services YMCA Military Outreach Initiative. See if you qualify for it. Mission Youth Outreach. Boys and Girls Club of America, youth outreach to support military youth. You go to their website, you click on that link right there. It's going to take you to a location where you can print out a form and you can turn it into your local Boys and Girls Club. I don't know that currently any of the locations in Vermont are participating. However, if we keep urging them, which I am, if you urge them as well at the local level, they may be more inclined to participate in the program. All right, and the last of the resources, national resource I'm going to share with you is if you're looking for deployment and parent help, there's lots of websites out there that have some fantastic information. Some of the key ones to note here are 0to3.org. And then one of my favorite ones for the younger kiddos is the Sesame Street for Military Families.org. And that's got a lot of interactive videos as well as printables that will really assist you and your younger kids through times of deployment. And then k12.w.wa.us hashtag. That's going to be dealing with your kindergartners up. And there's some really great resource there to assist you out. Military Child Education Coalition. It's wonderful education support resources and tools for the education community to buff up their skills on what it is to be a military child in the United States. Another great resource is United Through Reading. And what they're going to do is they're going to connect the families through reading. They have some great digital services out there that allow the deploying service member to pre-record and record on the fly book readings, and to the point where both the family that's left back at home and the deployed service member can have a hard copy of that book so that the reading can take place from and be delivered by that service member. They have some great online tools. They have a really cool, fun little app, so definitely check out United Through Reading. That brings us to the end of the briefing. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Again, my name is Brian Staudenauer, the Vermont National Guard Lead Child and Youth Program Coordinator. I am a contractor. Please reach out if you have any questions. Definitely check out our webpage and subscribe to that. And subscribe to our newsletter, please. That'd be awesome. That's where you can find the most up-to-date information about events and activities that are taking place, as well as on our Facebook page. So like us up on that as well. But thank you so much for being here. I really, truly appreciate your service to our country, both you as the service member and you as the family. Thank you so much for your sacrifices, and be well, and I hope to hear from you soon.